The big alien ship appeared above Earth without any warning. It was so huge it blocked the stars in the night sky. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of this ship, looking down at the blue planet. He commanded the most powerful warship in the 10,000-year-old Galactic Empire. Admiral Kim was tall with gray skin and 4 eyes. He wore a uniform covered in medals and badges. He had conquered 57 planets in his long career. Earth would be number 58. "Begin the standard greeting," he ordered. Officer Ju pressed several buttons on his control panel. "Transmission ready, Admiral." Admiral Kim cleared his throat and stood very straight. The cameras focused on him. "Primitive humans," he said in his most serious voice. "I am Admiral Kim of the 7th Imperial Fleet. Your planet is now under the protection and authority of the Eternal Empire. Resistance is inadvisable." He paused for effect before adding, "The consequences of defiance are beyond your comprehension." What Admiral Kim didn't know was that his face was now appearing on millions of screens across Earth. But the timing couldn't have been worse. In Seoul, South Korea, the Global Comedy Festival was in full swing. Over 50,000 people sat in the main stadium. Millions more watched from home. The festival host had just introduced the next act when the screen suddenly showed Admiral Kim's gray face. The crowd went silent for 3 seconds. Then someone in the back shouted, "Great costume." Another person yelled, "The special effects are amazing." When Admiral Kim said, "The consequences of defiance are beyond your comprehension," in his deep, serious voice, the entire stadium burst into laughter. They thought it was a comedy act about aliens. The laughter spread. In living rooms, bars, and public squares around the world, people watching the broadcast began to laugh. They shared clips online with funny captions. Within minutes, Admiral Kim became a global meme. On the alien ship, Admiral Kim waited for the usual response: fear, panic, or humble surrender. Instead, his communication screen filled with the sight of humans laughing. "What is happening?" he asked. No planet had ever reacted this way. Officer Ju looked confused. "Sir, they appear to be amused." "Impossible." Admiral Kim's face turned a darker shade of gray. "Check the translation systems." The laughter continued. Some humans were now imitating his voice and serious expression. Others were creating remix videos of his speech with funny music. "Sir," Communications Officer Min reported, "we're receiving a response from Earth." A small group of humans appeared on screen. They wore formal clothes and tried to look serious, but their lips kept twitching. "Greetings, Admiral Kim," said a woman with short black hair. "I am Director Park of Earth's Emergency Response Team. We welcome you to Earth." A man beside her snorted and quickly covered his mouth. Director Park continued, "There seems to be a small misunderstanding. Your message was broadcast during our comedy festival, and people thought—" "Comedy?" Admiral Kim interrupted. "You received a conquest declaration and thought it was entertainment." Director Park nodded. "I'm afraid so. On Earth, we often use humor to—" "Silence!" Admiral Kim shouted. His face was now very dark gray. "The Eternal Empire is not a joke. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Our armies stretch across 3 galaxies." This only made Director Park's team struggle harder not to laugh. One man had to turn away completely. Near Admiral Kim, Deputy Admiral Lee leaned closer. "Sir, I don't understand. Why do they laugh in the face of annihilation? No species has ever reacted this way." Admiral Kim had no answer. In 300 years of military service, he had never encountered such a response. "Maybe we should destroy a small island," suggested Officer Ju, "to show them we're serious." "No," said Admiral Kim, studying the laughing humans on his screen. "Something is wrong here. These humans, they're not afraid." "What power do they possess that makes them so confident?" whispered Deputy Admiral Lee. Admiral Kim frowned. In his experience, Only beings with superior firepower or technology could afford to be so calm when facing the Empire. We must learn more before proceeding, he decided. Prepare a diplomatic team. We will meet these strange humans face to face. As the alien crew rushed to follow orders, clips of Admiral Kim's speech continued to spread across Earth, each with funnier captions than the last. Humanity had met its first alien civilization, and somehow turned it into the biggest joke of the century. 3 days after the first contact, a small Earth ship approached the huge alien vessel. Inside were Director Park, Dr. Choi, and Captain Song. They had been chosen to represent humanity in the first official meeting with the Galactic Empire. Remember, Director Park said as they prepared to dock, "We need to be respectful." Captain Song nodded but couldn't hide her smile. Of course. No laughing at the aliens. Their small ship connected to the Imperial flagship with a soft thud. When the doors opened, 6 tall gray aliens stood waiting. They wore stiff uniforms with many colorful badges. "Welcome to the glory of Imperial might," said Officer Han with a formal bow. "Please follow me." The 3 humans stepped into a hallway made of shining metal. Lights pulsed along the ceiling. Everything looked clean and perfect. "Wow," whispered Dr. Choi. "It looks just like the movies." Officer Han led them through long corridors. Other aliens stopped and stared as the humans passed by. Some looked afraid, others curious. "This ship has been in service for 300 years, Officer Han explained proudly. "It has participated in 47 planetary conquests." "Only 47 in 300 years?" Captain Song asked. "That seems inefficient." Officer Han blinked all 4 of his eyes. "Efficiency is not the point. The point is glory." They entered a massive room with a huge cannon in the center. It was bigger than a house. "And this," announced Officer Han proudly, "is our planet-destroying cannon. 1 blast can reduce a world to atoms." Captain Song walked closer to examine it. She tapped on some pipes and looked at the control panel. "Your power coupling is inefficient," she said. "And is that cooling system analog?" "How quaint." The aliens looked shocked. Officer Han's mouth opened and closed several times. "This is the most feared weapon in 3 galaxies," he finally said. Captain Song shrugged. "It could be improved. The energy waste must be enormous." The tour continued. The aliens showed their advanced technology, but the humans weren't as impressed as expected. Instead, they asked questions about efficiency and design. In one important room, there was a display of ancient treasures. Dr. Choi was looking at a small urn when she accidentally bumped it with her elbow. The urn fell and made a loud crashing sound. The aliens gasped. Officer Han looked horrified. "That was a 10,000-year-old royal artifact," he said. Dr. Choi thought quickly. She smiled and clapped her hands. "This is our traditional greeting," she declared confidently. "The noise awakens the spirits of friendship. We do this to honor our most important new friends." The aliens looked at each other in confusion. "Really?" asked Officer Han. "Oh yes," Dr. Choi nodded seriously. "Very important Earth custom." Slowly, Officer Han nodded. "I see. Your customs are different." Later, after many more rooms and explanations, the humans were shown to their private quarters. The door closed behind them. Captain Song fell onto a chair, laughing. "Did you see their faces when you broke that vase?" "Urn," corrected Dr. Choi. "And yes, I can't believe they believed me." "Apparently," Dr. Choi said with a shrug, "they have no concept of lying for humor. Everything they say seems to be exactly what they mean." Director Park looked worried. This could be a problem. They don't understand jokes or sarcasm. They think we're being serious all the time. On the other side of the ship, Admiral Kim met with his officers. "Report," he ordered. Officer Han stepped forward. "The humans are strange, sir. They were not impressed by our weapons. They suggested improvements instead of showing fear. And they have unusual customs," added another officer. They break valuable objects as a greeting ritual. Admiral Kim frowned. They show no fear at all. Why? Perhaps, suggested Deputy Admiral Lee, they have some secret power we don't know about. No normal species would act this way when facing our empire. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. We must learn what this power is. Watch them carefully. Study everything they do. Yes, sir, the officers replied. As the aliens made plans to uncover humanity's secret power, the three humans prepared for dinner with the ship's officers. They had no idea the aliens now thought they possessed some mysterious ability that made them immune to fear. Remember, Director Park told the others, try not to laugh at them too much. But it was already too late. The misunderstandings were just beginning. 1 month after first contact, the real battle began. It wasn't fought with guns or ships. It was fought with paper and stamps. The Empire had decided to officially add Earth to its territories. This meant paperwork. Lots of paperwork. In a large room on the flagship, Imperial Bureaucrat Bake sat across from Mr. Yoon and his team. Bureaucrat Bake had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a very serious expression. He wore a uniform with many official stamps pinned to it. The integration process is simple, Bureaucrat Bake said. You just need to complete these forms. He pointed to a stack of papers taller than a person. Mr. Yoon smiled politely. Of course, we're happy to comply. Form GX2249B must be filed before Form GX2249A, but after Form GX2248C, explained Imperial Bureaucrat Bake with grave seriousness. All forms must be stamped with the correct color ink. Blue for morning submissions, red for afternoon. What about forms submitted exactly at noon? Asked Ms. Jin, one of Mr. Yoon's team members. Bureaucrat Bake looked shocked. No one submits forms at noon. That's when the stamp colors change. Submissions stop for 1 hour. How inefficient, Ms. Jin muttered. Mr. Yoon nodded thoughtfully. We understand completely. We'll handle everything according to procedure. What Bureaucrat Bike didn't know was that Earth had sent its most fearsome experts to deal with the Empire. Accountants, lawyers, and postal service employees. That evening, Mr. Yoon gathered his team. The Empire thinks their bureaucracy will overwhelm us. They don't know what Earth bureaucracy is like. Everyone laughed. Ms. Jin, who had worked at the tax office for 20 years, cracked her knuckles. Let's show them how it's done. The humans started working through the forms at amazing speed. They created systems, divided the work, and found patterns in the seemingly random paperwork. Imperial officials watched in shock as the humans processed forms faster than any species they had ever seen. How are they doing this? Whispered one alien clerk to another. No one understands our system this quickly. Mr. Yoon's team didn't just fill out forms, they studied them. After 2 weeks, they made a big discovery. Look at this, said Mr. Du, a retired lawyer. Regulation 5591C says all new planets must follow imperial trade rules. But Statute 8891F says planets with unique cultural practices can maintain their own systems. Mr. Yoon smiled. And we definitely have unique cultural practices. They filed a special form citing both rules. The Imperial Legal Department had never seen anyone use these rules together before. Chief Administrator Jun called an emergency meeting. He was the highest bureaucrat in the Empire. For 3,000 years, his department had controlled planets through paperwork, but now he was worried. How did they navigate the sacred scrolls of procedure so quickly? Demanded Chief Administrator Jun, watching in horror as humans used efficiency techniques and common sense to dismantle 1,000-year-old systems. They found contradictions in our rules that we didn't even know existed, reported Bureaucrat Bake. They filed for special status using Statute 8891F. Added another official. If approved, Earth wouldn't have to pay imperial taxes or follow most regulations. Deny it, ordered Chief Administrator Jun. We can't, Bureaucrat Bake said unhappily. They've already filed Form TX-7711, which means their application must be processed according to Section 12 of the ancient agreements. But that would take 15 years to process. Chief Administrator Jun said. Exactly. But while it's being processed, they operate under their own rules. They found a loophole. Something even more troubling was happening. Other planets in the Empire had heard about the Earth methods. Imperial citizens were starting to ask questions. Why do we need 14 stamps when one would work? Asked a merchant from planet Xorlan. Why can't we submit forms electronically? Wondered an official from the tourist system. These questions had never been asked before. For 10,000 years, the Empire had controlled its territories through complicated bureaucracy. No one had ever challenged it until humans arrived. In his office, Admiral Kim received disturbing news. The humans are changing how we operate, reported Deputy Admiral Lee. They're making things simpler. Admiral Kim frowned. Simplicity leads to questions. Questions lead to change. Change leads to freedom, whispered Deputy Admiral Lee. On Earth, Mr. Yoon received a message from his team on the Imperial flagship. It read, "Loophole successful. Earth now has special status. Empire bureaucracy and chaos. Sending more lawyers next week." Mr. Yoon smiled. The Empire had expected to conquer Earth with weapons or fear. Instead, they had encountered something much more powerful. Humans who understood paperwork. 6 months after first contact, Earth and the Empire had established regular communication. Trade ships traveled between planets. Cultural exchanges happened daily. But the Empire was facing a new problem they had never expected. Cultural Minister Moon sat in his large office on the Imperial capital planet. His job was to control what information citizens could see and hear. For thousands of years, the Empire had strictly managed all media. Today, he was looking at something strange on a screen. It showed a picture of a cat with big eyes. The text on the image said, "I can ahaze, see ahaze, burgr." "What is this meme you speak of?" asked Cultural Minister Moon, staring in confusion at the image. The young Imperial officer standing before him shifted nervously. "It's a form of human communication, sir. They share these images with funny text. They're called memes." "But what does it mean? What is its purpose?" Minister Moon demanded. "It's just for fun, sir. Humans make thousands of these every day." Minister Moon couldn't understand. In the Empire, all communication had a clear purpose. Nothing was just for fun. But it was too late. The cat pictures were just the beginning. Despite the Empire's strict media controls, human internet content was spreading across Imperial planets. Young Imperial citizens were secretly watching human videos, listening to human music, and sharing human memes. In a dark basement on planet Selter, 20 young aliens gathered around a screen. They were watching Something Forbidden, a human comedy show. They laughed as humans made jokes about everyday life. "Humans are so free," whispered one young alien. "They can laugh at their own leaders." Across Imperial space, similar secret gatherings happened every night. Human culture was spreading like a virus that couldn't be stopped. Intelligence Officer Kang prepared his report with growing concern. For weeks, he had monitored communications among young Imperial citizens. What he found was disturbing. "The younger generation is using incomprehensible phrases," reported Intelligence Officer Kang to his superiors. "They respond to orders with weird flex, but okay. And sir, this is a Wendy's. We don't even have this Wendy's establishment." The older Imperial officers looked confused. "What do these phrases mean?" one asked. "They mean the young people aren't taking us seriously," Officer Kang explained. "It's a form of rebellion through humor." The Empire's propaganda ministry tried to fight back. They created their own official memes with approved messages. But these formal, serious attempts only made young people laugh harder. "Look at this," a teenage alien would say to friends. showing them the government's latest attempt. They're trying to be cool. This would lead to more laughter and even more mockery of the empire. Human dances became popular next. Young imperial citizens recorded themselves doing TikTok dances in their traditional robes. The videos spread rapidly across the imperial networks. The empire's communication experts faced another problem: sarcasm. Imperial species had always been literal. They said exactly what they meant. The concept of saying one thing but meaning the opposite confused them deeply. When a human says, "Oh great, another meeting," they actually mean they don't want another meeting, explained one cultural expert to a room of confused imperial officials. It's called sarcasm. But why not just say what they mean? Asked one official. No one had a good answer. In his palace on the capital planet, the emperor himself noticed the changes. During an official ceremony, a young noble ended his formal speech with "Thank you for coming to my TD talk." The emperor, who had ruled for 500 years, was deeply troubled. He called an emergency meeting of his highest advisors. "Our citizens are being corrupted," he declared. "Yesterday I received an official report that ended with the phrase, 'No cap.' For father, what does this mean?" The advisors looked at each other nervously. Finally, one spoke up. "It means I'm not lying. For real. For real, Your Majesty. It's human slang." The emperor's face darkened. This must stop. Human culture is too dangerous. It makes people question authority and traditions. But it was already too late. Even imperial guards were secretly watching human comedy videos. Shop owners were playing human music. Children were teaching each other human games. On Earth, the human internet continued to produce millions of new posts, videos, and memes every day, completely unaware of the revolution they were causing across the galaxy. In his office, Cultural Minister Moon stared at a new report. Imperial youth were now organizing meme contests and roast battles. He didn't understand what these terms meant, but he knew one thing for sure. The empire was changing, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. 1 year after first contact, the situation reached a breaking point. Human culture had spread across the empire, changing everything. The emperor had enough. The final crisis started with a simple video. Some humans on Earth organized what they called the Galactic Comedy Roast of the Emperor. It was just a funny show where comedians made jokes about the emperor's serious nature and fancy clothes. "He's so stiff, if he fell over he'd break in half," joked one comedian. The video was meant to be just for humans, but someone shared it with friends on other planets. Soon, aliens everywhere were watching it and laughing. When the emperor found out, he was very angry. No one had ever laughed at him before. Even worse, people on several planets that the empire had conquered long ago were now making their own funny videos about their local imperial governors. "This is rebellion," the emperor shouted. "Humans have gone too far." He called his military leaders. "Prepare the fleet. We will make an example of Earth." Fleet Commander Shin gathered the largest space fleet in imperial history. 10,000 warships traveled to Earth. "They will learn respect through force," declared Fleet Commander Shin as the massive fleet surrounded Earth. "Prepare the planet-destroying weapons." On Earth, people watched the ships appear in the sky. Government leaders met quickly to plan what to do. "We can't fight that many ships," said one general. "Maybe we don't need to fight in the usual way," suggested Director Park, who had been the first human to meet the aliens a year ago. While the Imperial fleet prepared to attack, a small team of Earth's best computer experts worked on a secret plan. They had studied Imperial technology for months and found a way into their communication systems. On the main Imperial ship, Fleet Commander Shin raised his hand to give the order to fire. "Begin the attack sequence." But suddenly, all the screens on all the Imperial ships changed. Instead of battle information, they showed funny videos. Earth had hacked into the Empire's broadcast system and transmitted Galaxy's funniest home videos to every ship and every planet in Imperial space. The videos showed people falling down, cats doing silly things, and babies laughing. On thousands of Imperial ships, alien soldiers watched the videos in confusion. Then, something unexpected happened. They started to laugh. One video showed a man trying to open a door by pushing when the sign clearly said pull. Another showed a dog stealing a sandwich while its owner wasn't looking. A third showed twins playing a trick on their teacher. The laughter spread from ship to ship. Officers who had never laughed in their lives found themselves unable to stop. Even Fleet Commander Shin's serious face broke into a smile when he saw a video of a baby being surprised by a sneeze. "Sir, should we continue the attack?" asked an officer between laughs. Fleet Commander Shin tried to look serious again but failed. I don't know." Back on the Imperial capital planet, the Emperor watched in horror as his entire empire erupted in laughter. Even his personal guards were smiling. "Stop this immediately," he ordered, but no one could stop laughing long enough to obey. The attack on Earth never happened. Instead, something much more powerful occurred. The rigid, serious empire began to change. Within months, the empire transformed into what they called the Galactic Federation. The Emperor became just one leader among many in a council. Planets that had been conquered were given freedom to govern themselves. Earth became the cultural center of this new federation. Aliens from across the galaxy visited to learn about human humor, music, and art. Human diplomatic methods were studied by alien leaders who wanted to learn how to talk to their people more openly. 2 years later, at the first official Galactic Federation celebration, the former Emperor met with Federation President Kim from Earth. To everyone's surprise, President Kim greeted the former Emperor with a high five and a casual "What's up?" Even more surprising, the former Emperor returned the high five and smiled. "Nothing much, just enjoying the party." As they looked around at the celebration, with aliens and humans dancing, telling jokes, and enjoying themselves, the former Emperor shook his head in wonder. "Your people changed everything," he said to President Kim. "With no weapons at all." President Kim smiled. "Humans have always known that the most powerful force in the universe isn't gravity or atomic energy, it's laughter." The former Emperor nodded. After thousands of years of ruling through fear and power, he had finally learned something new. And he had to admit, laughing felt much better than being feared. The end.